The Rings of Power episode 1 and 2 can literally be summed up. You guys still here? Great. Well, episode 1's just going to take a minute because nothing really happened. So the show starts off letting you know right off the bat that Galadriel's a tough one. She's a tough little girl. She made a cute little paper boat that she sticks in the water to watch it float, and some mean boy throws a rock and sinks it. She then beats up the boy. Yeah, that's it. Thus showing the bond between her and her older brother. Fast forward real quick, Sauron is like kicking butt and the elves are fighting against all the orcs and her brother dies. She then takes the sword of her brother and's like, I'm gonna hunt this bad man down no matter what it takes and I'm gonna kill him. So she takes a bunch of elves with her and they tromp all over Middle Earth looking for the big bad guy. So this epic scene is in the first episode that they kept showing over and over again. Look, she's climbing up an ice wall. She doesn't even care about her companions. One of them's like sick and drops over and they're like, please stop, Galadriel. She's like, no, we're going to find this guy. I'm going to kill him. And it doesn't matter because then the elves are like, hey, look, we haven't seen an orc in a while. Can we just go home? I just want to go home. So she goes home. So when she gets home, they do a celebration and they tell all the elves, good job. You're all going to the Undying Lands. So saddle up, partner. Let's go. Get on the boat, and off she goes. Then you meet the Harfoots, where their hearts are bigger than their feet, and does really nothing. All they do is show them frolicking, collecting berries, whatever. And you find out that this one here, this one's a little rascal. She went a little too far to collect berries by the old farm where she wasn't supposed to go, and that's about it. They're dirty, filthy, they got bird's nest in their hair, and they do absolutely nothing for the story, I guess, except being introduced. This guy shows up and you realize he's in love with a woman that's not an elf. And that's it. We then go back to Galadriel, who is getting ready to go into the Undying Lands, and she decides, it's not for me. I need to avenge my brother. So she jumps ship into a large ocean, which how in the world is she going to get back home? She doesn't know. She just doesn't want to go to the Undying Lands. She wants to continue to fight because that's who she is. She's angry. She's a Karen. She's definitely a Mary Sue. There was a scene in this where they were climbing up the ice mountain and they fought a troll. Well, the other guys were getting knocked out and she went into some Matrix mode and just, that's the end of the ice troll or abominable snowman or whatever that thing was in this show. That's it. She's in the water now and she's done. Then all of a sudden something happens. A giant meteor in the sky. Fire in the sky. It's just flying across, and all the elves and the Harfoots and everybody else, they look up and see this burning rock. And the rock lands next to, of course, the Harfoots village. And lo and behold, it's Gandalf. Now, I don't know if this is Gandalf, but everybody's saying it is because it's obviously someone that has some kind of wizard powers. Yes, this person, the homeless guy, was in the giant meteor that hit and left a crater, and he's like almost naked and there's fire all around, but he's got some kind of special power and he can't talk. And it's just like, who is he? Ooh, what's going on here? What's happening? And I'm like, did they actually do it?
I will send you to Jesus.
Did they actually put Gandalf in there? Now everyone who's seen this character is like, it's got to be him. It's got to be a wizard. And if they went and did Gandalf, but Jay, they don't have the rights to Gandalf. That doesn't mean it's not him. It doesn't mean it's not him. And I'm like, I hope it is, because the memes will be absolutely glorious. And that's basically the end of episode 1. And if I missed anything, I apologize. I was bored out of my mind during episode 1. And I literally almost nodded off because I left halfway through and I went and played Fortnite. But I will say the visuals, that's where the money went. Whatever money they were saying, hey, look at all the money we spent on the visuals. That's it. They should have used it to hire a writer, a researcher, because they ain't spend it on anything else. They spent it on this because, yes, some of the scenes were shot wonderfully and it looked beautiful. I mean, the same thing could be said about The Last Jedi.
Go away.
So as we get to episode 2, it's not much better. My goodness, man. Like, it was boring. I mean, not even a slow burn. So I'm just going to tell the whole arc of Galadriel in episode 2. So if you remember now, Galadriel's now in the ocean. Kind of a dumb move. Didn't want to go to the Undying lands, and then all of a sudden this raft, it's not really a raft, it's a bunch of sticks just pulled together with some people on it that just look crazy. And they pull her out of the water and they realize she's an elf and they're not happy with her. But, you know, before anything could happen, a giant fish shows up and destroys the boat and eats everybody but the one guy there. So the one guy gets back on this raft that's now a lot smaller, rescues Galadriel, puts him on the raft, and they begin to have some dialogue. And they begin to talk, and she asks, where are you from? And he goes, I'm not from anywhere now because the orcs just destroyed my whole town. And that's when the Karen mode clicked in. She's like getting really like spicy with him, you know, snarky. Just saying, tell me where it is. You tell me where it is. And he goes, there's nothing to tell. She goes, I've been chasing this thing down for like centuries. And all the people that have died, you couldn't even name all their names and live. Basically saying, so many people have died, you don't have the lifespan to say all their names. So she's just getting really antsy. She's like, you will tell me. You're going to tell me where it is. Tell me where these people are. I'm going to go after them. And he's like, lady, we're on some stick raft, man. Where are we going? So he just tells her. So she basically shut up. And then all of a sudden they float into this storm. And this is what happens. And she's like, hey, help me out. She gets struck by lightning, I guess. She sinks to the bottom. And of course, the guy saves her. And at the very end of the episode, you see this. That's it. That's the end of episode 2. Now, did other stuff happen in between? Yeah, let's go into that. So the elf that looks like Don Lemon decided to go talk to the woman that he loves, and he's just like, and she's like, just tell me. He goes, I've told you 1,000,000 times how I feel without words. And then all of a sudden, some other guy shows up with a cow that's sick, and they're like, hey, my cow is sick. Can you fix it? And the elf and all of them begin to touch it. And then he grabs the cow's udder and squeezes out some black goo and is like, what happened to this cow? He goes, oh, the cow wandered off to this land. So then the elf was like, I'm off. I gotta go see what's going on. So he just leaves. This is the woman that he loves. And she's home with her son. I believe that's who that is. And she kind of runs off with the elf too. And then she begins to tell the town, hey, there's some evil coming here. We need to pack up and go. And the town's like, no. But all that, there's an orc. One orc decides to come up from the ground in the middle of her home and attack her son, and he hides in a cupboard. So when she comes home, she sees the house a mess and she sees the hole, and the young man opens the place where he was hiding. He goes, run, hide, be quiet, don't say anything. She then runs into a closet. The boy goes back into this little hole, and one orc shows up. Now this is the problem that I have. This is top tier lazy writing, and I wish people would stop doing that. When they're fighting the orc, yes, and of course you knew that was going to happen. The orc is strong and fast and moving around. So when the orc finally gets the upper hand and the young man is on the ground and he looks like he's about to die, the orc decides to walk in super slow motion. He just creeps over the young man. But before he was like fast and strong and ready to bite and kill. And then he's like, I've got the upper hand on him. Let me go in super slow motion, giving tons of time for the woman to get a knife and cut his head off. She then cuts the orcs' heads off and takes it back to the town and like, we're leaving. We're going to the elves because there's something brewing and we don't need to be a part of it. And that's the end of that storyline there. The only other thing that happened was this one here, this Hartfoot here, who's talking to the maybe Gandalf homeless guy that fell out of the sky. Father was trying to lift a branch and set up a tent, and he breaks his leg. And so they go find her and say, it's your father. He hurt himself. But the entire time she was away, she was entertaining this guy, which is definitely a wizard because he takes some fireflies and throws them up in the sky and like, ugh. And that's how he talks. He doesn't talk normal. He talks like he doesn't know how to talk. He grunts and groans and just like, he talks like this. Gandalf. And that was literally it. Elrond there on the left. He went to visit the dwarves and had a competition with the king in busting rocks, and he lost. And then he had dinner with the king and his wife. Literally, that's it. I don't even know what's happening. I don't even know what's going on. I just don't know. Galadriel is a terrible character. I mean, she's just awful. I don't understand. She's just mean and angry and like, it's my way or no way, and don't you tell me what to do. She's just terrible. Actually, the best part of the series were the dwarves. All of them. Yeah, even her. They were fine. They looked like dwarves. They acted like dwarves. They did dwarf things, but they weren't in it very long. But other than that, it's a snooze fest, man. And I don't know how they're going to pull off 5 seasons if they keep this up. If it didn't have Lord of the Rings on it, or this kind of promotion where it's like Lord of the Rings, Tolkien, this would just be another fantasy series that just kind of went by and no one would have said a thing. It's that dull. That's all I have to say. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below.